We ready?
Let's do this.
All right.
Rock and roll.
No script. We're starting. Here we go.
Yeah.
GPS to God, we're glad you're here. Welcome back. It's been a while since we've done just the three amigos, but that's what we have tonight. We are so glad that you are here to listen to maybe some craziness, maybe some good stuff. We're going to try a little bit of all of it. But GPS to God, that's where you are. Podcast at parkwaybc.net. That is how you can email us, and we would love to hear from you. You can also reach out on Instagram. Find the podcast there, GPS to God. Just put it in the search bar, and we would love to hear from you. Reach out to us. We love to interact and hear back from all of you. So all of you gypsies out there.
Yeah.
Hope that, Lori enjoyed her cameo she made on the episode a couple episodes ago when she got to break the news to all of you that you had to wait to hear the second half of Mark and Gisele. But she did a fine job. I think she, she took away some of the tension of that moment.
Yeah, she wasn't. She did not know that it was going to be a video. She thought that it was just going to be just audio until you sprung that on her. But it was good.
A little bit of a shock right there, huh?
It was good. She thought it was just going to be audio.
I told her she looked fine. It was no problem. It wasn't like she had, been out doing yard work or nothing crazy. So she was fine.
It was good.
I think she said she would have put some makeup on if she knew.
Gotcha.
But I told her, she was good.
All good. It will definitely be worth the wait.
Oh, yeah. Well, by the time this comes out, they would have heard
Very
it.
true.
Very true.
So, if you didn't know, we record ahead. We try to record ahead an episode or two.
That's the plan.
That is the plan.
It helps on the editing side, all that kind of stuff, getting things posted. And sometimes we lose track of time when we do that. It's kind of hard to keep up with it, and sometimes we are more ahead than other times. So it's not always just the same old around here. But we're glad you're here. Reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Simply Polyco, reach out to them as well. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram. Get some good stuff from them. They do great work, and please check them out. We have all kinds of stuff to get into today. We're going to do another Bible study, looking at another topic. We're going to get into that here in just a second. You probably have seen the title. We don't know the title for this episode yet, but it's probably going to give it away, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you come with something really, really creative.
Yeah, no. Garden of Gethsemane. That's what we're going with. Zero thought goes into that one. So
it is not Yosemite.
Well, since
No,
you already broke the news.
Right?
I wasn't going to.
I was going to bring it up.
Oh, yeah. I knew he was bringing it up. I was just going to go ahead and throw
I'm
myself
sure
in
you
that
were.
puddle. Go ahead and just do it myself.
So we had talked about doing another Bible study episode. We wanted to do that, and what was the topic that we were going to do? We kind of fell on the Garden of Gethsemane. Garden of Eden was the first one we did, and we said, well, let's kind of follow it up, keep the theme going, and gave Ryan, said, hey, Ryan, here's what we're doing, because Fano and I had talked. We had been in a group text, all of us. Fano and I kind of said, all right, let's do this one. Went and told Ryan. He said, okay, I got it. About 2 days later, Ryan comes back.
Clearly, I'm halfway listening when you told me what the subject was.
Well, that's your
so
fault.
I hear it, and I'm like, okay, what does it have anything to do with this?
About 2 days later, I come back, and Ryan is like, hey, man, I cannot find anything on Yosemite. Like, everything I find, it's just about this national park. Like, I don't see where Jesus went to Yosemite at all.
I'm like, where's the biblical references for Yosemite in this? I know this is not right, but you said we're talking about it, so I got to find something.
That's so good.
Oh, it was.
That's
I don't know what the look on my face was, but
Yeah, obviously I don't know everything, so yeah.
it was a good one. I was like, right? Like, at first I thought he was joking. It's like, you serious? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, no, the Garden of Gethsemane, man, with a G. Throw a G. Oh.
And that's why I'm on this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm the comic relief.
Yeah. He felt a lot better, though, because he was like, oh, maybe I can find something to talk about now. There was relief in
For
his
sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
And he came
Big
with
sigh.
0 notes, so I'm really encouraged.
I got him.
All up here.
Yeah, he can tell you when Old Faithful's going to spout off, though, so. Be looking for that. Go ahead and book the next family vacation. I don't know. Did we finish the intro? We gave the email address.
Maybe.
Oh, man.
Simply Paul
Like and
Co.
subscribe.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. Yeah, make sure you rate, review, subscribe, and
That's awesome.
tell somebody else. Y'all know the drill. Here we go. Yeah, Yosemite was that caught me. That was pretty funny. I wish we had the cameras rolling for that one. That was good.
That did.
So speaking
Guilty.
of cameras rolling, actually not rolling, probably a good thing.
Okay.
Give us a report on the City Museum. Your big trip to the
Yeah, we wanna hear about this.
Big first
It was
great trip
nice.
to St. Louis.
It was good. It was very, very hot. We got there, met at the arch, went right up to the arch. Lori did not go up. She did the last time we were in St. Louis. It just not a fan of the.
It's kind of a rickety elevator.
It is.
Oh, I love that elevator.
It is. So it didn't, doesn't really bother me that much, but I'm glad it's only 4 minutes or however long it takes. So, but it was fun. Went to the arch, then we went to the City Museum. Amelia had a blast there with all of her first grade friends, and it was fun. It was a good time. We stayed in there, didn't get stuck in any tunnels or anything like that. Went through one tunnel with her, kind of, but it was a little dark for her, so we promptly bailed out a little bit. But she had a blast. So she wore herself down quite a bit.
Again, for those that have not been to the City Museum in St. Louis, it is just a maze of tunnels and slides and secret passageways and all kinds of crazy. It's fun, but oh man.
So were y'all the only school there at that time? Or because I feel like when you go to like the zoo or you go to like a museum or something, it's like all the schools come together and say, hey,
time,
what day do y'all want to go? And we're all going to go on the same day.
Yes, especially this time of year is the end of the year trip, I guess, for most schools. So yeah, it was pretty busy. It was pretty busy. So, but we had a good time. I mean, it wasn't just overly
It wasn't like chaotic
crowded or anything like that. But yeah, she had a good time. She had a good time. So
Isn't St. Louis the gateway to the West?
it is. Yeah. I think that's why that's.
Probably how
I think that's why that thing was built.
early people
Right.
got to Yosemite, isn't it? Kind of took that path right there.
From the top there, you might be able to see Yosemite.
Could be. Ate at the Spaghetti Factory. Went to the zoo the next day. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the St. Louis Zoo, which was excellent. We talked about my beef with the Nashville Zoo calling themselves a zoo, but not having an elephant or a lion.
Did we talk about that?
I don't
Maybe
remember
not.
that. If we
I'm not
did, I
sure.
wasn't
I'm so
paying attention.
disappointed. Well, we will. So disappointed in Grassmere of the Nashville because
I think
they fashion
They used to have an
they
elephant.
fashion themselves as a zoo, but they don't have an elephant or a lion. And I think those are two
It's
key.
just unacceptable.
I think those are two key
prerequisites
things
to have a zoo.
Yeah.
to be named a zoo. I think you need to have an elephant or a lion.
The last
Probably
time I went, there was an encounter where they said they had a zebra there, and we go up there and look, and there's not a zebra anywhere. And they're like, "Oh, we took him away for a little while. He'll come back next
It's
week."
unfortunate.
He was in timeout.
Yeah, apparently.
Saw elephants, saw a lion. It was good. It was a good time.
Is the St. Louis Zoo the one? I'm not sure or not. Like they have a giraffe. Like you kind of go out on like a big deck, and the giraffes are right there, and like will come over and eat right out of your hand,
I don't.
kind of thing.
I've never been to that.
That
one.
I don't
that
think
might be
so.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Indianapolis Zoo. But
I remember seeing the giraffes, but not a close encounter or anything like that I can remember.
we have today. You really can't tell, but we have a camera operator. So we have Ashlyn behind the scenes. She's working her way up, trying to be a producer maybe, but she is behind the scenes running the cameras today. We've never had a producer before, so we're trying to
Everyone can probably tell.
get up and probably so. We're working our way up. But speaking of, we didn't mention this. Adam kind of not dropped the ball. He set the stage for us to be able to do this. Donations. We take donations too. Email us. We would love to continue to build up, get some new equipment, all that kind of stuff. So drop us a line. We'll tell you how to donate some tax-free money right there.
Right.
Not tax-free. What do they call that?
Is it a credit or no?
Yeah, you get some money back on your taxes.
You would.
Yeah.
There you
That
go.
Tax
you
credit.
Tax, yeah.
That you would.
You can tell we're big financial guys here without Zach. So
Zach's empty seat over here just.
got one more kind of behind the scenes thing to talk about, and that is the last episode. We're always juggling because we don't have producers. We don't have anybody operating the volumes in real time. We kind of try to handle that in the editing, the post-production. Mark, we knew would be kind of loud. His microphone was turned down too low, so we, like in the editing process, we had to turn him up. So, we came across pretty clear, but you can kind of hear an echo from him where it's picking up the whole room, how we turned it up.
I noticed that his mic was
He also sat too far away from his mic. He was scared of the microphone.
And it was turned too. It was.
You can definitely tell.
We tell all of our guests, you got to be close to the microphone. I don't know, Mark. We try not to fight it. We want people to be comfortable when they are here. But
I think Mark had he thought his voice was confident enough that he was loud enough that he would be able to still talk from far away.
Yes, but we had turned his microphone down because he has a boisterous voice. He has a great voiceover. He could probably do some voiceover work if he wanted to.
Yeah,
him and Fano need to start their own business.
I know, right?
Ryan, hey, I'll be the producer for that one.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
But speaking of Fano, because the microphones were it was allergy season when we recorded that.
Oh,
you heard Fano?
Did I? Yeah. Sorry, it's been killing me.
How's the smell of that foam over there? Or the lack of smell?
He couldn't smell when we recorded that episode.
This has been.
You could hear him sniffling.
This has been the worst year. It's been the worst year. I remember that episode because I hadn't taken my Claritin.
Mm-hmm.
So
it'll get you every time.
Yeah, well, I think I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
And we did not wear headphones that day, and so I did not notice it as we were recording. But it happened. We like to let you guys in on the behind the scenes of what goes on around here. Hope it, pulls you in, makes you feel more part of the family.
Yeah, which they are. They are.
I heard we're going nonsense here before we get into the Garden of Gethsemane. Heard a little bit of nonsense earlier today. If all technology ended, for whatever reason, nuclear war or whatever, technology ended, and a movie, whatever, Walking Dead, not with zombies, but just that kind of end of the world situation, right? How long would you last? Like, are you a prepper? I know the answer to this, but are either one of you preppers?
Not really. I don't think I would be.
No. Not necessarily.
So how long do you think you would last? Well, let's just take society.
What would be
surviving?
taken away?
Okay.
Like what would be taken away?
Zero electricity, zero cell phones. Gas. Gas would. Do gas pumps operate without electricity? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think so.
Our camera person is saying no.
She's very adamant.
There's our fact checker.
We're going to
very adamant. We're
going to trust that fact checker. You know what you said.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to trust that. So you would not be able to get gas to, refill your car to do stuff. Grocery stores are going to be looted pretty quick, I would guess.
So you say you're just basically living off the land?
Or you're looting. You're trying to steal stuff. How long until people break down and just start robbing neighbors and going crazy?
I
think that would happen quick.
I
don't think I'd
almost
last
immediately.
that long.
I think once people started getting that reality of that happening, it would be done, like right then.
Because you have no radio, you have no idea what's going on. When's all this stuff coming back? Like I think in less than a month, society would be chaos.
Well,
I was thinking less than that.
I mean, like wide scale.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like,
because I was thinking like a week, but that's smaller than that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I'd say
rough.
about a month. Yeah, we're down to nothing.
Because you have no way of communicating with anyone that you can't talk to face to face.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But, I mean, nobody, you see these TV shows of preppers and all this kind of stuff. And
yeah.
I think the vast majority, we are so dependent on so many other people for groceries, like everything we do.
For sure.
By and large, if people have a garden It's normally, something kind of small. You just get a couple fresh tomatoes or peppers or whatever.
Dawn, Lily, and I would be done. Like, we're on a week-to-week basis as far as groceries and stuff like that. So, yeah, we would be done. Week, we're good. After that, we're done.
Yeah.
That has
Lori's cell phone went out. I guess it was maybe a week or so ago, and she was hurting. She was hurting pretty good.
I could
just with that.
I use my cell phone. I love the convenience.
The dependency on that thing.
Google, just instant information.
Yeah.
But if they all went away tomorrow, I would be fine without cell phones.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'd be okay.
I think
because her was like going places or whatever, not like she normally says I'm leaving or whatever. I'm on the way home and stuff like that she couldn't do. That was bothering her.
But back in the old days, you remember this.
Oh, yeah, completely.
You remember
we were
this.
fine.
'Cause y'all are that old.
Yeah,
yes,
we were
are.
fine. Yeah.
When you went out, you had to tell your parents when you're leaving, where you're going, who you're going with, when you're going to be back.
Yeah.
And if your plans change, you better find a payphone and call them. And
better have your quarters ready.
That's right.
Better have your quarters ready.
Was it call it collect or whatever?
You
could call and make them pay for it.
Find that payphone. Find that payphone. Get your quarters in.
So if you didn't have some change for the payphone, you would. I mean, do I call collect or do I ride this out and I just take the wrath when I get them? It also depended on what you were doing. Were you being sneaky or
Very true.
or what? But
yeah.
I mean, people talked more. They communicated more before that.
Right.
I mean, you used to have to, if we were going to meet at the mall, hey, man, let's meet at the mall at 3:00. Okay, where are we going to meet? Like, let's meet outside the
Champs.
Yeah, let's meet at Champs.
Yeah.
Let's meet at the Taco Bell. Like, you had to plan all that out.
Right.
Now you don't.
Now
don't care about any of that.
There's a text message. Where are you at?
For one, if you go to a mall, people look at you weird.
That is.
Kind of. But
I can't think of the last time I was in a mall.
Yeah, it's going the way of the dodo. Amazon ruined it. Radio killed the video killed the radio star.
Yeah.
Amazon killed them all.
Yep, it sure did.
That's how it all worked. None of that has anything to do with our topic of the day, but
not at all.
It was good though.
Stuff that came up
besides not having cell phones.
Yeah, well, if you live in Yosemite, you don't have to worry about that anyway. I'm sure they got all kinds of
no
stuff.
cell service whatsoever.
I don't know if that's true.
All that is a hammer.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a national park. It's got cell service.
I doubt that.
All right, Garden of Gethsemane.
Garden of Gethsemane.
Here we go. So we kind of went, we did the Garden of Eden. We started with the Garden of Eden. It was at the beginning of the creation story, and we said, hey, why don't we just round it out and end up with another garden? It's kind of the beginning and the end of man coming, God bringing man into the Garden of Eden, and then God atoning for man in the Garden of Gethsemane there before Jesus was handed over to the authorities. So we wanted to just kind of take that angle and approach, and they are two very different places, obviously, but very different in what they did, the biblical stories that go with each one of those as well. But
right,
you can find the accounts of the Garden of Gethsemane in all four Gospels. They talk about it, but kind of like we talked about in the Garden of Eden. The garden, we call it the Garden of Eden. Now it was really the garden in Eden, the garden that God planted in Eden.
Right.
None of the four gospel accounts call it the Garden of Gethsemane. They all say that, they went to Gethsemane, a place called Gethsemane, or they went to a garden.
So it was in Jerusalem at the Kidron Valley. Is that how you say it? Kidron Valley? Kidron Valley?
I left that to you. I knew you were going to go with the...
Hey, I like my locations.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, it was at the foot of Mount Olive.
We obviously don't know where the Garden of Eden was. There's still we don't know exactly where the Garden of Gethsemane was, where Jesus was. So we don't know where he and the disciples actually went to pray. But we know a pretty close location because it's still there today. We know where Jerusalem is. We know where the Mount of Olives is, the valleys, all this different stuff. And there are still olive trees there. And the word Gethsemane translates to oil press.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they were pressing some olive oil out. So there's still olive trees there, but we don't know exactly where. But there are several different, locations. You can take tours, and they say this is the Garden of Gethsemane, but it's not exactly known where Jesus was, where he prayed, where the disciples were.
Right.
But some places have you can buy tickets and take tours and all that kind of stuff. This is the rock Jesus was on, all that kind of stuff. But
so somewhere I read that there was only 23 olive trees in Gethsemane
today.
Like at that time. Is that correct? Couldn't find any actual resources or why they would say that, but that's what I read, and I just didn't know if y'all knew anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that
I do not.
There were a couple. There are a couple trees there today that they have tested, taking cores and doing carbon dating and that kind of stuff, trying to find it. And that they say, hey, these trees we think are 1,000 years old, but the roots they can't really test them, and they say
to justify if they were actually there.
Some of these roots they think may be roots from trees that were there when the time of Jesus. And they said olive trees, you can cut them off, and new trees will grow from the roots. Some trees, if you cut them off, full-grown trees, they die. But olive trees will re-sprout. But oil press is the translation of Gethsemane. Matthew and Mark, we were talking about, they didn't call it the Garden of Gethsemane in the Gospels. Matthew and Mark, they both say a place called Gethsemane. So Jesus and the disciples went to a place called Gethsemane. In Luke, they went out to the Mount of Olives, as was their custom. So Jesus took the disciples. Jesus went to this Garden of Gethsemane often. It was somewhere they went to, get away. And I mean, they're in the desert. There's not a lot of tree coverage and stuff. So that would be a, pretty common place to go get some shade and hang out and whatnot. And then in John, it says they went across the Kidron Valley where there was a garden. So none of the Gospels ever say the Garden of Gethsemane. But again, it's kind of that translation, how we speak English, and how we have translated it over time to say the Garden of Gethsemane, even though that's not really what they called it.
It must have been a very peaceful, quiet place to go to, because if this was a place they like to go to pray and to get away from things, it had to be that kind of place.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine this being like a very popular place where a lot of people would show up.
Well, even today, people like to go hang out in a park or a garden and just eat lunch.
Yeah,
and
kind of get away from things.
Yeah, hang out and, sit in the shade, all that kind of stuff. But it was somewhere that they went often, which kind of plays into the story here in a little bit.
Does. That's what, well, we might get to it. I'll save it. But
I had, so when we did the Garden of Eden episode, I kind of laid my notes out in a specific order. Then I got 3 pages of notes here. There is no order at all in any of them, and I was
if you hear a lot of page turning, that's what it is.
Put these notes together. It's crazy. So. It's crazy. But getting back to it, one thing that struck me kind of first off, when we read any Bible story today, a lot of times we take emotion out of it. We're just reading words, and it's kind of, monotone or whatever. We're just kind of taking fate at face value, and really, there's emotion, there's wars and conviction and all this kind of every emotion you can go through that's happening in some of these stories. And we really should be reading it like a novel, or like we would read a movie script. I think if I was reading a movie script, like, I'm going to see those images in my head of
you're trying to get full depth of it,
the action, and so some of the things that Jesus was, when he went to pray, and some of the things we're going to go over in a minute. Like,
one of the things that I just thought about now is, like, you're talking about going into depth in these conversations, but one of the things that as kids, when we're learning these new stories and everything, we learn them. I think we've talked about this before, but like, you learn a story a certain way because you were a kid, and then as you get older, you get that more depth concept of what we're talking about. And I think this was another thing for me, is that you don't really pay a whole bunch of attention to the details of it. And then as you grow up, you start looking a little deeper and you find these things out.
Yeah, so let me give you guys some Bible references real quick. So if you're in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 36 is where they start to talk about the garden. Mark chapter 14, verse 32. Luke is chapter 22, verse 39. John chapter 18, verse 1. So that kind of gives you some Bible references. If you want to go and look this up later, do a little study on your own, let us know what you think. We definitely want to hear what you think. Questions that come up to you, or maybe we'll ask a question that we don't have an answer to, and you do. We would love to hear about that, and we will definitely share that. Email us.
Please comment.
Or reach out on Instagram and send us a message there. Amanda Mundy asked a couple weeks ago, hey, did anybody ever answer was it the Garden of Eden episode or the other when she was here?
No, that wasn't the Garden of Eden. That was when we were talking about stories of things that we might not have understood.
Bible misconceptions.
Yeah. There we go.
And Fano asked, hey, when did Satan enter the picture?
Yes.
Well, I think, was it Garden of Eden? It was Garden of Eden.
Yes,
like
it was.
when,
that question.
When did Satan,
right.
God created the world, planted the garden. When did Satan enter the picture? Like, where was Satan when he left heaven? All that kind of stuff. Yep. Amanda said, did anybody send in an answer? I said, nope.
Did not.
She said, do you know? I was like,
Crickets.
Nope. So, yeah, hey. We want to interact. We love when you all reach out and interact. I probably had some fan comments I should have brought today that I did not. We'll catch back up with those. But we love when you interact. So
for sure.
But yeah, reading I think we need to take some emotion. We need to read the emotion and stuff into this because it's put yourself in the story. What would you be doing? How would you say it? You're not just going to be. You need to do better than that. Like
and Jesus said.
But it's one of the things here. So let me read. This is the in Matthew, chapter 26, starting in verse 36. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, James and John, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." So that right there, I read it kind of how I would if I just sat down to read it. You kind of go straight through,
right,
the words of Jesus. But he's like, you got to imagine Jesus is God, right, and man in one. Like if he's going to have emotion behind that, and it's like, guys, like I am hurting. I really feel like I'm about to die. Yeah. I need you to pray with me. Like, he is going to just be. He felt every emotion that we feel, right? So if that is the most troubling point of his entire life.
I mean, at that point, he already knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like he has that idea. He already knows. But I mean, like he has that human aspect of it that he's like, I know this is going to be painful. I know what's coming up.
I mean, just imagine
the anxiety of it, I guess.
The most stressful thing that has ever happened in your life ever is happening right now. Yeah. Way harder than anything else.
Right.
When you're talking to somebody about that, it's not going to be, "Hey, I'm sorrowful. Come pray with me." And like you're going to be pleading and
yeah.
And I mean, you're going to get into it, but also, I mean, the disciples probably didn't know that this was
they
didn't know that this was going to. I mean, they didn't know that supper that they just had was the Last Supper. They did not know that. I mean, I know Jesus spoke about it. I mean, in verse 26, Matthew 26:29, he says, "But I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." I mean, he's saying all but, the next time will be in heaven with God, but they're not. I'm sure if they knew that if that was it, that they wouldn't have, fallen asleep 3 times.
I think right. Yeah, we're going to get into that part a little bit more.
Right.
But I mean, I think they kind of tune it out probably.
For
Because
sure.
again, we got to put ourselves in that situation. How many times did Jesus say, one day I'm not going to be here. You guys need to pay attention.
Right.
And it's kind of, if you tell your kids that, or you're at work and your boss is always saying the same thing, or you're in school, your teacher is like, you got to, whatever.
Almost like they just took it like as a joke. Okay, whatever. Let's go on to the next conversation.
Right.
But I mean, that's a natural reaction to be
Right.
like, dude, you're always saying that, like,
Right.
we got time.
Right.
We
You're
got
not going to
time.
let all this stuff happen to you.
Yeah.
So they probably definitely took it a lot lighter.
Yeah.
So
I heard, I was listening to a sermon. Again, I'm terrible about writing names down and giving these people credit, but listening to a sermon about the Garden of Gethsemane, and this guy said, some people think at that time Jesus is here, he is, fervently praying and sorrowful, feels the weight of death and the world on him, and some people believe that it was during this time that God gave Jesus a glimpse of the fullness of God's wrath. So
Okay.
Jesus always knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
He knew before he left heaven. He knew he was going to atone for the sin of everyone. But he did not have a full picture of God's wrath. And if he had not been given that picture of the fullness of here is everything, you're going to, separation from God and the fullness of sin, then it would not have been his real choice to take on our sin.
Yeah.
So kind of like what we do now, if one of you guys calls me over for, hey, can you come help with this? Whatever, help me with this favor, or help me, move or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come help you. And then when you get into it, you're like, dude, this is way more than you let on. Like, I had no idea we were going to be doing all
You're
of this
getting an
stuff.
invoice at the end of this.
You know what I mean? Like, this is not what you sold me. I agreed to do this, and now we're in the middle of all this stuff.
Right.
But you go ahead and finish the task, right?
Yeah.
But you would not have chosen to do all of that.
Right.
So some people think that Jesus' soul and spirit was so heavy at this time. One, the weight of what was going to happen was upon him. He knew the time was at hand. But some people think that God kind of gave him a glimpse of the fullness of his wrath, of God's wrath.
Well, I mean, when he's in there and when he's in the garden and he's praying, he's asking the Lord, like, I don't want, like, please take this away.
Yeah.
Remove my cup. I don't know if I was probably paraphrasing that, but something on those lines to where he's saying, I know what's coming. Can you take it away from me? I know if it's not my will, it's your will. Let's do, like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can you imagine that? Jesus said, he had just said, my soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me. That's what he told the disciples. Then Jesus left them, went a little further into the garden, fell on his face, started praying, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but you will. Again, I'm trying to relate this to me and my life and what I've done. And, I've been very blessed in my life, but still have been times of just turmoil of whether it's a job situation or whatever's going on, and like just the stress and you just want to scream at, like, this was so much more magnified than that. But I know what I have felt like in those super hard times, and just wanting to, not really have, like, God, please just take this away from me. Like, I cannot do this. Take this away.
yeah.
So, like, God in human form is saying, take this from, like, please, I am not strong enough to do this. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But, God, if you think I can, I'm going to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
What you tell me to do, I'm trusting you.
He's going to give you what he knows you can take care of. And that was probably the same situation with him.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it just once.
No.
I mean, he prayed that.
He had the same
went back,
prayer.
Yeah.
prayed again, went back. So,
and to me, that's hitting the same thing of, I don't even know what to say, God. Like, I'm coming to you multiple times a day, like all the time, because this is all I think about. It's consuming me. I'm stressed. I don't even know what to say, but take this away. Please take this away. Please.
Yeah.
But I'm going to follow you. I'm going to follow you.
Right.
He went to pray. He came back. He left the disciples. He went further in, prayed, came back to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, so you cannot watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And again, I just imagine him like, God, like, what are y'all doing? It's been just an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I need you right now. This is
right.
it. Like, what are you guys doing?
I'm just curious how
especially that, because that, and I mean, he chose them to come with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just shows how much he, depended on them, respected them, to bring them in with them, and then he comes back and he's
but
like.
But how do you think they felt though? Because I mean, he brings them to come out and watch, and they keep on falling asleep, and they know what he's going through. I feel like at that point, so I mean, they hear the sincerity of his voice, so they keep on falling asleep on him. So I'm like, how I'm trying to think of the correct words. How upset would they be of themselves because they kept on doing this?
Well, I think when he tells them, a lot of times, he says, you couldn't watch with me, watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. He's talking to the disciples.
Yeah.
He's like, this is not about me. It's about you being on guard.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be tempted right now. You're going to be taken away. You're going to focus on the wrong things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You should be focused on me. Mm-hmm. Focus on what's about to happen. Satan is tempting you right now. I'm telling you, you are being tempted right now.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the wrong things. And when he says the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak, I've always kind of attributed that to Jesus. Like he's kind of telling them, be on guard against temptation. Like my spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. But the same guy that was preaching, the pastor I heard said, Jesus was talking about the disciples at that time.
Yeah.
He's like, I can see your spirit. I know you want to be supporting me, but your flesh is weak. Like, again, it's another warning for them of, I know what your intentions are, but you are not following through with what you should. Your mind, your body, and your spirit are fighting against each other. You need to be focused on the right things right now, and you're not. You're letting earthly flesh pull you down. So that was, I think I always kind of, like I said, put that on Jesus. Jesus was saying, hey, I'm willing, but, my spirit's willing, my flesh is weak. But this guy said that was about the disciples. Right. He could see their spirit. They were willing, but they were weak.
Well, I was going to say right then you have Judas that comes in, right? Is that basically at that point?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit after that is when he comes in. We got some stuff to hit on that too. But I was kind of going into what happened. Why are these guys so tired? Why are they falling asleep? All this kind of stuff, and that this is the same night of the Last Supper that all this had happened. Right. So they were
in the middle of the night with them.
In the middle of the night.
Right.
They had come from Bethany. Jesus, they had been at Bethany where he was anointed and had the perfume poured on him, all that kind of stuff. Bethany, I looked this up just for Ryan. From Bethany to Jerusalem, it's about 2 miles.
Okay.
Which is not terrible,
That's
especially
not terrible.
in that day. I imagine that's a pretty common, traveling kind of deal. But you're still traveling,
Yeah.
You're at a dinner or whatever, a big meal and all that. Travel 2 miles. They go to the upper room, have the Last Supper, do all that, and we eat different than a lot of other countries eat even today. So like when we go to a restaurant, you go in, you get your food, eat, and get out. They're trying to flip that table, right? The more times they flip a table, the more money they
Fast
make.
food.
Other countries, in Europe and other places, you go in, they expect you to sit at that table for hours and eat and conversate. It's about the relationship of being out together and not get your food and get out,
right?
Kind of thing. So that's more the culture in the Middle East. You sit down and it's a meal, and you're spending the time together. It's
You're
multiple
investing.
hours, and so they have the Last Supper. They don't know exactly where that upper room is, but they have a kind of idea of where it was. They think, and it was on the southwest side of Jerusalem, and the Garden of Gethsemane area where they think it is on the northeast side outside the city. They said that's probably at least a mile away from each other. So they have the Last Supper, they get out, and then they walk over to the garden, and they had traveled in to Jerusalem to find a place, to spend the Passover and all this kind of stuff. And like, it had been a day, right?
So they ate all this food and they basically did a 5K at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it had been a full day of
I mean, a 5K gets me.
traveling and all this stuff. But, so that kind of puts an earthly tint to,
Does.
Yeah.
what had been
Right.
going on. They've been traveling. They've been doing all this stuff. And, back in those days when it got dark, you went to bed. There was nothing else to do. So,
Right.
it was well into the night. And they're like, man, I'm tired. He's talking his stuff again. Like,
And going back to they didn't really
they thought they had
know
time.
what was, for sure.
Thought they had time.
For sure. He says, get up, let's go. See my betrayer is near.
Yeah. Before one more quick thing before he gets to that. Jesus was on his own, even in this garden when he's bringing the disciples with him to stand guard a little bit. Maybe that was something, I don't know, but he needed that time to pray and get right with God, and get strength from God. So I think maybe there was a little bit of, they were on guard. That's maybe why he left some of the disciples at one spot, went deeper into the garden with the other disciples, and then went deeper. But he was on his own, and no one else could do what he did. They couldn't even make it through a prayer time. And just before this, when Jesus has said, one of you guys is going to betray me, and they all said, dude, I'll die with you. And, they're like, I'll die with you too.
Yeah.
They're like, you can't even make it through the prayer time before we get to that.
Right.
What do you mean you're going to die with me? But, I mean, that was, obviously we know none of us can take away our own sin, much less everybody else's.
Sure.
But,
Agreed, yeah.
I mean, this just kind of highlights that no one else could do what they couldn't even get through the prep work.
Couldn't even do that, yeah.
I guess let's hit up Judas a little bit. We've already mentioned it a couple times, and the betrayal of Judas, betrayal of Jesus by Judas and what he did. Finally, you talked about it once before. I don't remember which episode it was, but you read the verse of, Jesus said, do what you're going to do, and then at that point, Satan entered Judas.
Right.
I mean, that is all, like, it's confusing to me. Like, like he had already taken steps to, hey, I won't betray.
Yes.
But then Satan entered into him. What did that do? Like, did that just give him the conviction to follow through, or would he have backed out if that didn't happen? Like, that's always like it. It's saying just a short little statement, but it brings up so many more questions.
It does, for sure. At any point, Jesus could have stopped it and just, before they came to take him away. And, I mean, he had the opportunity, but it just shows his love for us, his trust in the Father by wanting the cup taken from him so bad, but at the end of the day saying, if it's your will, let it be done. It just gets you emotional thinking about how just his love for us.
So we're going to pick it up in verse number 39. This is Mark 14, verse 39. Again, he went away and prayed, saying the same words. That kind of struck me that he was saying the same words, and I think I mentioned it earlier, like, I don't know what to say. This is what I'm feeling. Please take this away. Mm-hmm. It wasn't making excuses. It was, I am at the end of the road. God, you are the only one that can do this. So that struck me there, but he said the same word. Again, he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. So the disciples were like,
they knew they were guilty.
Like,
they were caught.
Dude, I have messed up, and I have nothing to say.
Speechless.
So that's one instance of that, of just, I mean, I know, if you're a little kid or something and one of your parents kind of gets on you and just looks at you and you feel like so small and like, man, I know I messed up. I am so sorry, but I cannot fix it. I feel horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine Jesus looking at you and having that. You're like, oh, man,
that is the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, I mean, that struck
the
me
worst.
When I read that. They did not know how to answer him. That was crazy. I'll go ahead and jump ahead because I'll probably forget. Later on, after he's arrested,
mm-hmm.
Peter denies him 3 times.
Right.
And it says, one of the gospel accounts, I'll find it here in a second, said, right after Peter denied him the 3rd time, Jesus turned and looked at him. And like, I cannot imagine. I just denied him 3. He told me I was going to do it.
Yeah, right.
Then I denied him 3 times, and as soon as I denied him that 3rd time, he's standing there staring at me.
That's it.
Ooh, like,
yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine what Peter felt at, like.
That's in.
I betrayed. I know I denied him, but for him to sit here and watch me do it like that.
That is Luke. That's Luke 22:61.
Yeah.
Well, it starts in 60. It says, but Peter said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Immediately while he was still speaking, a rooster crowed. Then the Lord turned and looked at Peter. So Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said to him, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly.
I mean, it would be bad enough if he was by himself, but they are in the middle of this interrogation with people all around. And, I mean, you can imagine this is a commotion because a mob went to arrest Jesus. We'll kind of back up to that now. Jesus prayed, and then here comes a mob. And then they're coming with torches and weapons. And, like, it's not – this is an event going on.
Right.
The middle of the night. It's dark. There's no street lights, right? So if you have a mob of people coming with torches, you see that from a long way away.
Yeah.
And man, to be in a group of people and Jesus is being interrogated and all this stuff and people trying to warm up by the fire, all this stuff. And no, I don't know that guy. And he's sitting, Jesus is staring at you as you deny him. It's like, oh, my goodness.
Just back briefly to the prayer. I mean, it doesn't say it in every gospel, but you know how detailed Luke was. But in Luke 22:44 says, being in anguish, he prayed more fervently, and his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. Mm-hmm. So that's how hard he was praying.
Yeah, Luke gives us some really, really good stuff.
He does.
You know, the drops of blood. If you watch History Channel, Discovery Channel, stuff like there have been programs that have shown like this really happens to people today. Mm-hmm. Some people today,
right.
like, you know, when they are super stressed or I don't know if it's a condition name or what, but they can have drops of blood come out as
Yes.
So that, I mean, we're not trying to find an earthly explanation for what happened. I mean, it's just, he knew God's wrath was upon, he was about to take on the sin of the world. Yeah. But also in let's see, verse 43, same chapter, Luke 22, Jesus praying is going over this same thing of talking to the disciples, going in to pray, coming back and forth, all that kind of stuff. And same words, Father, if you're willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Verse 43, and there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And that's a verse that, I've probably skipped over and not paid attention to. It's not a verse that we highlight much. But that's huge. I mean, an angel came to Jesus, and that kind of ties into what the guy was saying of, a glimpse of the wrath of God that was about to be unleashed on Jesus, that an angel appeared to strengthen him. And that's also kind of where his attitude's not the right word, but his demeanor changed. Jesus' demeanor changes, and that's when he gets up and goes and tells the disciples, "Hey, wake up! You don't have to worry about that. It's time to go. It's showtime."
Right.
Here's the people that came to get me. So,
and back to that mob, which I didn't. I was just talking with Lori about it, but there were quite a few. This wasn't like, I always imagined that it was, about 10 to 12.
Yeah, I was like him and 10
to
people.
come. But I think some accounts say there was maybe like 600.
Yeah.
People or men that were, that had come.
Could you imagine that?
It wasn't like quiet,
right?
in any way. So
and these dudes are just sleeping,
right? So
they get woken up in a hurry.
Yeah, right.
That they do. So
but that kind of goes into an earthly explanation of they're woken up by a mob. They start pulling out swords and whacking people,
Yeah.
Ears flying off of the servant of the high priest, all this kind of stuff. And of the four Gospels, only one gives the account of his ear being healed. The others talk about, ear being cut off, but there's only one that talks about it being healed.
Yep.
And it gives his name, gives the servant's name, all this kind of stuff. But, that's, you wake up and it's time.
Game
it's
time.
Go time.
Let's go.
Let's go. But they thought Jesus was going to conquer in an earthly way,
right? Just wipe out the mob, and it.
Yeah. And this kind of gets to one of the good parts of that. I don't know. They're all good parts. One of the exciting parts for me was Jesus said, "Hey, we're not here for that. I could call down more than 12 legions of angels."
Exactly. Yeah.
To settle this right now, if I wanted to. Like, what are you going to do with your little pea shooter over there? Like, sit down, Skippy. So I went to look up the angels and the legions.
Well, hey, before you get to that, I had a quick question, not to back up, but back when they're at the Lord's Supper and Judas is there with them, Jesus does say something to him. He says, what are you about to do? Do it quickly.
Yeah.
He knows something's happening, but I don't get that. Like, what is he saying? Like, do it quickly.
I don't have a great biblical answer.
Right.
But I think if we kind of look at it from our human perspective, what would I do? And maybe this ties together with the, Satan entered into Judas.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Judas was overcome with evil in that moment.
Okay.
So, that is consuming. When it's pure, raw, any evil is consuming, right? And it builds upon itself.
Yeah.
That's why, anytime we compromise something, we may be stressed out about it the first time. Well, the second time, it's a little bit easier to do it.
Yeah.
The third time, it's even easier to do. It's consuming. But Satan entered into him. He was betraying the Son of God. that evil was consuming him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very long before he hanged himself, right? So,
Right.
like, he had to go do those physical, earthly things before he was totally consumed by the evil.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be my best guess.
Because I was taking it as like, just get it over with. Hurry up.
Well, that too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a timeline, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Jesus kind of knew that, things had to happen. But
Right.
I think it was just consuming evil. He was consumed.
Hearing it that way, I
We are
agree.
all sinful, but there's, if Satan fully enters into you,
Yes.
that just sounds different to me. Right?
Yeah.
Legions of angels. So Jesus said, do you not know I could call down more than 12 legions of angels? A little bit of variation here if you go back and look of how many people were in a legion. This is based off the Roman army and how many soldiers are in a legion. And some of it break it up into it's this many people and this many horses or whatever. But 6,000, that's kind of there's a range of numbers, but 6,000 is pretty consistent. So one Roman legion had 6,000 soldiers in it. And anytime we read about a legion, we can kind of just extrapolate that, it's about 6,000 people. And at Mark chapter 5, verse 9, they tell us, this is a side note, they talk about the demon-possessed man, and he said, had a legion of demons. So this dude had like 6,000 demons in him.
Wow.
Kind of puts a little different spin on that one.
Yeah.
Yes, that it does.
But so how many angels are in 12 legions? So if one legion is 6,000, Jesus said the Father would give him more than 12. Little bit of math. 12 legions equals 72,000 angels, right? A minimum of, this says a minimum. Again, a little little fluidity in the numbers there, but let's just say 6,000. So 12 legions would be 72,000 angels. What does that really mean? Well, let me tell you. A little bit of backstory here. What's the strength of what can 72,000 angels do? What kind of power are we talking about here? Well, in Isaiah 37:36, we get a story of how one angel, a single angel, obliterated 185,000 men in one night. One angel took out 185,000 men in one night. So, if we just say it's apples to apples, how much combined strength could 12 legions of angels do? You got that math in your head, Ryan?
No.
Well, that would be
quite a bit.
enough. Combined strength in a legion of 6,000. One legion of 6,000 could destroy 1,110,000,000 men. That's one legion.
I think we get Jesus' reference to this.
One legion could
6.
destroy over 1 billion men. 12 legions, 13,320,000,000. That is more than twice the number of people living on the earth right now. Right now today, more than twice
That is ridiculous.
the Earth's population. Obviously, less people lived on the Earth back then. So even if we say like that 6,000 number is crazy, if you cut it in half, that's still enough to wipe out the entire population of the Earth today.
Yeah.
So that was, that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
The numbers of how that all translates. So Jesus had more than enough power to.
For sure.
Oh,
To
yeah.
stop
Way
it.
He didn't even
far
have to
beyond.
call the homies in. He was like, "I got this." It's they're over there just waiting to get in the game, but I got
they're
this.
snoozing. We're good.
Yeah. But Peter's actions were an example of how us mere fleshly beings try and
React.
solve our own problems, but we can't. It's all we have to depend on Jesus, and He's got more power than He even needs. I don't even have to call in the subs. We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Got to fall to him.
but they can more than twice the Earth's population. That was crazy to me.
I like those numbers. That's pretty good.
We talked about how the disciples and Jesus frequented this place often. So Jesus obviously knew that. It's not Jesus would never hide from anybody, but they didn't go to some secluded area or something like that. Yeah. He knew that Judas and the mob would easily know where to find him. Yeah. There wasn't any looking for him. This was where he would be.
And Judas had been there with him before.
Correct.
Judas knew this would. Right. And it even says that in one of the accounts.
I couldn't find it.
Judas said, "Well, I know where he is. He's over there where he are."
Right.
I mean, this was this was their city park. This was their mall. This was their hangout spot. Right.
So,
I had this conversation with someone yesterday. They had a family situation we were praying about, and they had been stressed out in their house about a decision, nothing bad, just they had to make a decision, and it was kind of weighing on them, and we were praying about it, and he said he was so stressed over the weekend that he just went to bed early. And I've kind of had that thought before, man, there is so much to do right now. I'm just going to bed. I don't even want to deal with it. Let's just go to bed. Right. And that kind of goes back into, the disciples struggling. And even if, Jesus said their spirit was willing and I really want to help and get on this, but man, I don't even know how to do it. So let me just catch a nap kind of deal. But, the disciples, they gave up and they gave in to that temptation, to that sin, to that weakness. But Jesus fought through. He continued in prayer. And he continued to seek God and God's will, God's plan, and that is what won the day. But just another great example of how God wants us to approach things like that is don't give up to that temptation and the easy way out and just be like, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm throwing my hands up. Keep coming to me. Keep coming to me kind of thing. And one other thing that caught my attention reading through each gospel account, and this is, some people are confused. If you're a new Christian or you're just reading the Bible kind of thing, you're, reading through the gospels and you're like, well, how come this guy says this and this guy says this? You got to imagine if you and 3 other buddies watch something happen, whatever, you see a car wreck or you go to a sporting event or whatever, and then you all have to write down what happened. Well, you're going to write through what you saw and a detail you noticed. You're going to write down, but somebody else may not have noticed that detail. They're going to write down the details they noticed, they picked up on. So that's kind of where the variation comes from. But it's good because it paints a more complete picture of what happened because you get all these different angles.
Right.
This is Mark 14:51. They have just come out to arrest Jesus. Judas led the mob over, and they're taking Jesus away. And a young man followed him with nothing but a linen cloth around his body, and they seized him. But he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. I have no idea why that's there, why that is included, but I don't know if this kid was just, watching the action. This was a big event that was going on, and he was just kind of, watching the show and following to see what would happen. He gets grabbed by somebody in the mob, and he kind of wiggles out of his robe, and he's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I want to watch. I don't want to participate, but I don't know why that's there.
I was going to say, it makes you stop and think, well, what was the significance of having that wrote in? Yeah.
So, email us if you got a great answer for that. I'd love to hear it. If you have a bad answer, I'd love to hear that too. But that caught my eye reading through that because that's the only place that's mentioned. And what's the significance? Why is this?
Yeah.
Was he just there to watch the show? If so, why? Why include that kind of deal? But
just the truths as well, just above that I was reading as well. Sorry, let me get that closer. The truths that Jesus continued to speak and throughout this entire process. Like Mark, right above that in Mark 14:48 and 49, it says, Jesus said to them, "Have you come out with swords and clubs as if I were a criminal to capture me? Every day I was among you teaching in the temple, and you didn't arrest me, but the scriptures must be fulfilled." So all this was for the scriptures to be fulfilled. Yeah. I could stop it at any point, but it had to be done this way.
Right.
So, and he never strayed from that.
No.
I mean, knowing that he could bring down the legion of angels, but he never strayed from what must be fulfilled.
And how many of us would do a
I
guaranteed victory?
Oh my goodness!
In our back pocket,
Yeah.
But he had a guaranteed. He had a guaranteed victory of another kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he could have beat us.
Yep.
He could have beat them at their own game.
Yep.
The way they thought that it was going
Right.
to happen.
Right.
But he's like, that ain't even worth it. Like, I got another way
Right.
that's even better.
It just shows how much love he had for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even little details like healing the ear.
Right.
Like chop the ear off. Wait a second. Let me heal the ear because
Yeah. Well, that's about. I get that was a horrible way for me to start that sentence, but that about does it for us. That is about all the notes we have.
That's all, folks.
Well, I tried to say two sentences at once, and neither one of them came out right. But there is so much more we can dive into. But we definitely hit all the highlights of the Garden of Gethsemane, and what Jesus did, and just how it relates to us. Because man, this is so relatable, and things that we go through in our lives. But great that he gave us an example of how to approach things, and don't give up, don't give in. Your spirit may be willing. Make sure your flesh is not weak. Keep seeking God. Bible verse. Anybody got a Bible verse?
I don't have a Bible verse, but I was just thinking it.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to bounce out twice on it.
Right.
Not twice in a row, anyway. But, we try and prepare and kind of assign a Bible verse most episodes. We've been slipping on that lately. I don't know who to blame for that.
We have been. I blame you, Daniel.
Yeah, well, it's
you take the heat.
Equal
Boss man.
partnership. All three of us. There we go. But this kind of fits in here a little bit. So this is Luke chapter 12, verse 40. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So that's Jesus speaking. You must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So this kind of, ties into all of this of the disciples thought they had more time. They're like, hey, we're good. He's just, we're going to go do another miracle tomorrow. We'll catch a nap here. But Jesus tells us, be ready. It's going to happen, and nobody knows when it's going to happen. But in that blink, when it does, if you're not right, you're going to sure wish you were. So great warning to all of us to always be on guard and be doing what God wants us to do. So hope you enjoyed this episode. We enjoyed it. We're always nervous doing these. We've only done it twice in this kind of format, but we're nervous. It always turns out good on our end. We hope it turns out good on your end. Make sure you come back again next week. We love you. God loves you more. See you next time on GPS to God.
Bye, gypsies.
Thanks for listening to GPS to God. Make sure you leave a rating or review on whichever app you happen to use. Also find us on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to our channel.